Que lo que miente. Welcome to my universe. Welcome back to my universe. Welcome to another episode of the Things I Never Said podcast. Excuse my voice. I know it's like a little shot right now, but whatever. Okay, so I just wanted to sort of continue the theme of like one of the recent podcasts that I did about detachment because I came across another very powerful, succinctly put statement, and I just wanted to share that with the congregation today. Okay. And the quote is simple. The quote is, "You are allowed to outgrow people." It is absolutely true. In my humble opinion, it is also actually necessary. Not necessarily meaning that like you got to leave people behind and purposely try to outgrow someone as if you're in competition with them, but it is necessary to grow. That's what I'm trying to say. And in that process of growing, you may very well leave people behind or leave people where they are. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you don't care about that person or never did. It just means that you have a different assignment and you have a different path to walk down as a result of your purpose and or your assignment. Now, if you listened to my podcast about detachment, I did hit home on some things that I do believe will probably come up in this podcast as well, because part of the reason that you end up outgrowing people, or no, in the process of outgrowing people, sometimes you do face just that sense of detachment from them. Sometimes it starts with some kind of drama. Sometimes it starts with you coming to terms with certain things. Sometimes, like I said, you just detach from that person. Whatever the reason may be, I think it's just important to recognize that you shouldn't stunt your growth just because you're comfortable with who you're surrounded by or where your environment is, because you don't grow as much when you're completely comfortable. You grow more when your circumstances push you out of your comfort zone, when you're forced to push yourself a little bit harder than you did before in order to obtain the things that you wanted to obtain, or in order to reach the aspirations or the goals that you set for yourself. Sometimes you are going to have to outgrow people just because they're not willing to push themselves where you are willing to push yourself, or as much as you are. You guys don't even have to be trying to go in the same direction, but maybe you have a sense of direction and that other person doesn't. It's okay. I can think of so many people that I quote unquote outgrew. And it's not about ego. It's not about being better than anybody. I simply grew up a lot faster than most of the people that I knew, or than the average kid that was my age. I was raising kids that were not my own by the time I was 8 years young. And at a very, very, very young age, like my day-to-day life consisted of going to school, walking 30 minutes home from school, no matter the weather, and then helping the kids with their homework, and then bathing the kids and feeding the kids and putting the kids to sleep, and then starting my own homework, and then fixing myself some food, and then cleaning up in the kitchen, because if I didn't clean up the living room or vacuum or sweep or whatever my tasks were for the day, my father would come home at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and wake me up to do those things. And he would probably attempt to wake up my other siblings, but my sisters most of the time stayed asleep. And of course, the boys were never woken up to do anything or expected to do anything except take out the trash. So, that was my day-to-day life from age 8 or 7 going on 8 to age 15 going on 16. So approximately 8 years. Okay, that was my life. And then on top of that, I was a foster child before then. So when I came up north, or when I was taken from my foster home and reunited with my birth family, about my home situation. He said, "Wow, you're depressing." And I said, "No, I'm not depressing." He said, "Yeah, that's actually so depressing." So imagine, like, I didn't really talk to that person ever again. And, funny enough, when I was graduating high school, he told someone that I knew that he felt bad for, um, for not ever inquiring about how I was doing when he knew me and when we were such close friends, quote unquote. And I may have even shared this in a video previously. But yeah, that was just one example of many during which I severed the ties with people because I knew that they couldn't relate. And not only could they not relate, but they also just couldn't understand why I moved the way that I did. They couldn't understand or relate to working to be able to provide for myself because I didn't have parents. And it was not even so much by choice. It was more so for my own safety because my parents were obviously, or the way that my parents were to me was obviously very detrimental to my wellness or my well-being. And in order to protect myself, I literally had to just sever the ties. People couldn't relate to that because no matter how much pain their parents or their siblings or their family members or their friends inflicted upon them, they would choose to stay in those situations. That's where I'm different. You're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to belittle me and then reap the benefits of my presence. You're not going to put me down, but then have me taking care of your kids. Not my kids, but your kids who also are disrespectful. You're not going to have me doing that. I deserve to be appreciated just like you want to be appreciated. I deserve to be honored just like you want me to honor you and honor your name and honor this family or honor this friendship, even. There were so many girls that, I was friends with, I was cool with, but I'm not friends with now, or I don't talk to them now. And it's because I outgrew them. It's because there were things that I learned so long ago and they still had not learned those lessons. They still had not, if they had learned them, they did not apply them to themselves. And that's unfortunate for them, because I know while I'm not perfect, I'm a damn sure good friend to people. And that's why those people hit me up later on talking about some, hey, just thinking of you, da 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 da, is because they know I was a good quality friend who was compassionate and empathetic, and I was understanding, I was loyal, I was not necessarily like the happiest person all the time, but I wasn't mean-spirited at all. But people take you for granted. People like to tell themselves that you'll always be there, because most people will always be there for people who don't even deserve them. You know, I had a friend, and I made a video about this experience where this person that was my friend at work accused me of throwing a basket at her, which I would never do because I'm not a physically violent person. I wouldn't risk my job, as also, like, I wouldn't do something stupid like violating or attacking a coworker and risk losing my job. That's my money. Like, why would I do that? And then on top of that, I genuinely cared for the girl. So again, why would I do that? You know? And I was so offended by the fact that she kept accusing me of that, that I asked her to go check the cameras. I said, let's go talk to management. Let's go check the cameras. She stood right there. She didn't want to do it because she knew in her heart of hearts that I never threw anything at her. I stood the basket up, and I used all my strength to stand it up because I was inches away, or I don't know, 3 feet away or something like that, when I grabbed the basket and stood it up, but it didn't touch her at all. It remained in the container that the basket was in. But yeah, I bring that up because she turned to the first person who asked her what happened. And this person is somebody that she told me would talk crap about me. If you tell me that somebody talks crap about me, I'm wondering, what did you say when that person was talking crazy about me? One. But two, I would not ever expect you to be standing there talking to that person about any issues that we having, unless you just want to lose me as a friend, which is exactly what happened. Because again, I wouldn't do that to you. If you tell me that Luis was over there talking crap about me, why would you be over there talking to Luis when you and I have an argument? I don't care if Luis asks you what happened. Tell him your mama. You tell him none of your business. You tell him it doesn't matter. But you certainly don't sit there and start explaining some pura mierda to that person, lying on my name, giving them more ammunition for them to talk about me with when I'm not around, which is what I suspect they were doing. And I remember when I got a message from this person, I told her, like, I don't trust you. Like, we're not going to hang out. We're not going to have ourselves any kumbaya sessions anytime soon, because I do not trust you. What you did is something I would never do to you. And you showed me the difference between me and you. You showed me the kind of friend that I am versus the kind of friend that you are. So we don't have anything to talk about, because that's a lesson you obviously have not learned. I'm not the type to wait around for you to learn your lessons. This is not school. This is a friendship. We can learn from one another if you want to, but there are some things I'm not going to teach you. There are some things, if you're going to roll with me, you should know. Don't do things to me that I don't do to you. It's simple. But people lack integrity. People lack dignity. People lack self-respect. Because if you respected yourself, you would treat yourself better. And you would treat other people the same way that you treat yourself. I know she wouldn't have appreciated, especially that girl in particular, because nobody in the workplace even talked to her. I was her legit only good friend there. And we hardly even knew each other. I only worked for the place for like 8 months. But I was the only person who was cool with this girl. Other girls didn't even talk to me because I was friends with this girl. I would never go up to any of those girls and talk about her when she wasn't there. She sent me a message and said, oh, let that stuff go. I was the last person talking about you when you chose to leave that job. Well, why would I trust you? Like a fool. If the first time you showed me that you're not trustworthy because you turned to not just anybody, but the one person that you came to me to tell me was talking crazy about me and my work ethic, that was spiteful, that was low down, and that was stupid on your part because you lost a friend who would never do you the same way that you just tried to do me. But with that situation, like other situations with little girls who didn't understand how to be a friend to somebody, I just had to outgrow it and make room for people who would treat me better than that. People who are mature enough to know we don't need to do that little kid stuff. There are just some things you're not supposed to do to people if you know you don't want them to do it to you. I had another friend, and the key word for all these situations is really had, because I learned to walk away and to just sever the ties with these people. But I had another friend who I guess felt some type of competition with her sister because her sister was probably deemed the prettiest one of them all. And I think she just felt very insecure in this girl's shadow. Well, this friend would talk about her sister to me and the mean things that her sister said to her when they got into arguments, and she told me other personal things that happened with her sister, things that she didn't really have to tell me, but as a friend who trusted me, she confided in me and she told me these things, all right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. That's fine. But then one day, when I asked her if she could help me out with something and take photos for me for some project I was working on, she didn't want to do it. She told me her sister is better at that kind of thing and that I should just ask her sister. So I asked her sister. Her sister said, yeah, the time came for us to do it. Both of us were not having good days. I said, well, we'll postpone the photo shoot. I'm just going to go work out. And then the sister told me that she wanted to go too, but she asked me if her sister was coming because she didn't want to make it weird. And I was like, why would it be weird? We can all just go. I invited her sister. I invited my friend. She said no. Her sister still wanted to go. And I said, okay, well, it's a public place. I'm not going to tell you you can't go. So yeah, you can come with me if you want, and I'll actually stop by your place so we can walk there together. That's exactly what I did. When I showed up at the house, this girl didn't even open the door for me. This girl who was supposed to be my friend, she knew I was there. I texted her I was there and she didn't open the door for me. So I sat outside on the porch for like 10 minutes waiting for her sister. And then when I came back, the girl who's supposed to be my friend asked me, or he asked her sister, excuse me, what I was still doing in their house. But she mouthed the words to her so that I wouldn't hear the question. She was being shady. She was being weird, and I didn't understand where that energy was coming from because I didn't do anything to her. In fact, while I was hanging out with her sister is the one who told me that my friend told her sister not to trust me, not to confide in me, not to talk to me about anything. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So you can sit there and talk shit about your sister to me, but you're gonna tell your sister not to trust me. You're gonna have me sitting outside your house for 10 minutes as if I did something to you. Again, I outgrew that situation because I'm too mature for that. I gave her several opportunities. I went to her room to talk to her, and when I knocked on the door, she said, "What?" to me. She said, "What?" Like she didn't have any home training. And I called her when I got home so we could talk about it. She didn't want to talk. She just wanted to bottle everything up and make herself out to be some sort of victim, which she's not in any way, shape, or form. Because I know for a fact I didn't do anything to her. But it's stuff like that that you're not supposed to tolerate. It doesn't matter how long you've been friends with somebody. If people want to start acting weird towards you, if people who are supposed to be your friends, people who are supposed to be your family, I gave situations and examples from friendships and families. If people want to do shit like that to you, excuse me, that you don't do to them, I just don't understand why you would keep yourself in that kind of situation, especially when you don't see them evolving, when you don't see them trying to do any better, even when you give them an opportunity to. I'll be fair and actually give you an opportunity to do better or to just be honest with me. And even after that, the girl just lied to me and said nothing was wrong, nothing was wrong. Whole time she's telling her sister that I talk too much and I rant too much and I'm always preaching about shit and all this other stuff that she couldn't ever dare say to my face. Like, how foolish. How foolish of you. It's like people don't recognize that we are not going to be around forever. When you have people in your life who you really value, just work things out with them. Talk to them about how you're feeling. If you suck at communicating verbally, write down how you're feeling. Because when you take for granted this idea that people are always going to be around, you're going to be severely disappointed when they wake up and leave you behind for somebody who is better than you, somebody who will treat them better than you, somebody who sees their value more than you ever could. People really like to waste other people's time because they're so used to wasting their own time and giving themselves so many excuses. I recognize that for a young person, I really do put a lot more pressure on myself than the average person that I know who's my age or the average kid that I went to school with. And I'm not saying that it's a good thing all the time. No, it comes with its pros and its cons when you are your own coach or your own mentor. But it also helps me to not stay in one place or to remain stagnant no matter what I'm overcoming. I get up and I move fast. I'm very diligent. I'm very resilient. I always find a way to overcome. And it's because I put a pressure on myself to do better. Even if it's going to be difficult, even if it's going to be uncomfortable, face the music, have that uncomfortable conversation, get it off your chest. It is much better to do that than to bottle it all inside or have animosity towards someone that you actually love or actually value deep down. Because they're not going to be there forever. They will outgrow you. Just because you want to remain stagnant, it doesn't mean that they will. You will be there by yourself. And the funny thing is, I once told this one friend in particular who was talking about me to her sister. Before I even found that out, I think I told her when we were sitting down on these rocks, like, I don't know, maybe like a month or a week or two prior, that if she wasn't upfront with me and if she wasn't honest with me the way that I forced myself to be with her, no matter how uncomfortable, that she would one day be sitting on these rocks by herself. I meant that shit. I absolutely meant that. Because you really have to recognize that in your life, you're going to evolve. You are better off choosing to evolve as opposed to being forced to evolve. You're better off choosing to do better than being forced to do better when all of the other options that you had fail, or when all of your resources run out, or when your entire support system shatters. It is better to utilize those resources while you have them. It is better to appreciate the people around you while you have them and to let them know what you're struggling with. Again, these are lessons that I learned very early on. Doesn't make me better than anybody else. It's just the reason I don't tolerate the shit. Like I said, I'm not in the business of waiting around for people to catch up. I'm not in the business of waiting around for people to get it. If I don't treat you like you are worthless, you're not going to do that to me. And that says something about my sense of self-worth versus yours. That's all. Doesn't mean that I'm better than you. But yes, I just wanted to say and reiterate that you are allowed to outgrow people. In fact, you will. Don't have any shame or any guilt about it. In those toxic situations that you're in, recognize that it's not serving you and write down or curate some sort of plan involving what your next steps are going to have to be in order to move on. That's the only way to go. That's the only thing that's left to do. You have to evolve. Evolution is natural. Evolution is mandatory. I think it's better to have some sort of control. It's better to have some sort of plan as opposed to just waiting until you get stuck or waiting until you're all by yourself and feeling helpless. Evolve. You'll thank yourself for it later. Outgrow people. You'll thank your new friends for it later. You'll thank your new sense of family, your new resources, your new environment, your new job. You'll be grateful for the fact that you did not wait around for other people to see that you are deserving of appreciation or love and affection or whatever else. You can fill in the blanks. But yes, on that note, I will say that, mi amores, thank you for listening. Take care.